Namaskar and welcome to News Night. The Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has announced 12 key stimulus measures, in fact, to boost the economy, which the economy is emerging, in fact, strongly from the COVID-19 setback. And the Atmanirbhar Bharat 3.0 is going to provide a boost to employment, to agriculture, infrastructure, manufacturing, housing, and research and development as well of a COVID-19 vaccine in the country. All this is going to be in focus tonight. My name is Mark Lin. Let's begin with the headlines. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announces 2,65,000 crore rupees Phase 3 of Atmanirbhar Bharat package, focused on promoting employment and manufacturing. The Atmanirbhar Bharat Yojana employment scheme is announced, and the Atmanirbhar Bharat package is cumulatively worth about 30 lakh crore rupees. New scheme of credit guarantee for 26 troubled sectors due to COVID. Additional allocation of 10,000 crore rupees for the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Rozgar Yojana. Additional funds of 18,000 crore rupees for the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. 30 lakh new houses, 78 lakh new jobs to be created. Finance Minister says that the economy is improving at a rapid pace. The RBI expects better than expected performance in the third quarter. Composite PMI in October is the highest in 9 years at 58.9, and the GST collections have increased 10% over October last year. Prime Minister Narendra Modi co-chairs the 17th ASEAN-India Summit and says that the India-ASEAN strategic partnership is based on historical, geographical and cultural heritage, emphasis on promoting all forms of connectivity, economic, social, digital and maritime. PM Modi unveils the statue of Swami Vivekananda at JNU and says that reforms are being done. With honorable and good intentions, the poor are being protected. Decisions are being taken for the unity and integrity of the nation and not based on ideology. Says that doing it any other way would harm the country. The BJP targets the Mamata Banerjee government for poor law and order in the state of West Bengal. Says that the attack on the party's state unit president Dilip Ghosh and the murder of an activist is a murder of democracy and the constitution. Says Mamata Banerjee is afraid of losing power. The Union Ministry of Jal Shakti gives away the second National Water Awards to honor institutes and individuals for their excellence in water conservation. DD News' Jal Shakti Samachar gets the award for Best TV Show for promoting news on water conservation. The festival of Dhanteras is being celebrated. People are buying gold and silver jewelry, utensils from the markets. Arrangements are in place to prevent large crowds at the markets due to the possible spread of COVID. Our top story, giving a booster dose to the economy, the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman laid out a blueprint for the third phase of the Atmanirbhar Bharat package of 2,65,000 crore rupees. The main focus of this package is to create new employment opportunities and to promote manufacturing in the country. The government has expressed the hope that the economy will soon be back on track amid increasing recovery from COVID.
The festive season of Diwali has brought great news for the economy. The government has announced third Atmanirbhar Bharat Aviyan package. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says the focus of this package is to boost employment generation and bring manufacturing back on track amid recovery from the pandemic. Government has launched Atmanirbhar Bharat Rozgar Yojana. Under the employment scheme, companies will be given an incentive for EPFO contribution for new employees. 24% of the EPF will be made by central government. If a new job is given by a company which has less than 1,000 employees, for new jobs, this facility will be available for a salary of less than Rs 15,000.
The new scheme which we are now calling as Atmanirbhar Bharat Rozgar Yojana, is being launched so that we incentivize creation of new employment opportunities so that the recovery phase benefits from it.
The country's MSME sector is at the forefront of job creation. The government has decided to extend a guarantee on loans given to the sector to help them get going. So far, loans worth 2 lakh crore rupees have been disbursed. Now a new scheme of credit guarantee for 26 sectors in trouble due to COVID-19 was announced by Finance Minister. To generate rural employment, the allocation for Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Rozgar Yojana has been increased by 10,000 crore rupees. Overall, 1,11,000 crore rupees have been allocated for rural employment this year.
This Garib Kalyan Rozgar Yojana had brought together the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme and also the Garib Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. Both of them were also brought together so that rural employment can be encouraged. You remember that in the budget we had announced something like 61,000 crores for Manrega. We also gave a 40,000 crore in addition during the Atmanirbhar Bharat 1.0 announcement. So with that announcement of 40,000 crore, Manrega had crossed 1 lakh crore outlay.
On Wednesday, the cabinet announced a package of 1,45,000 crore rupees to promote manufacturing, assistance of 10,200 crore rupees for companies working in certain industries like defense equipment and green energy have been provisioned. A provision of 65,000 crore rupees have been made as fertilizer subsidy to enable farmers to access fertilizers at lower cost. Similarly, a provision of 900 crore rupees has been made to promote research in Covid vaccine. All in all, Finance Minister has so far announced a cumulative package of about 30 lakh crores in 3 Atmanirbhar Bharat packages. The first package provided immediate relief for people from Covid lockdown. The second was focused on boosting demand in the economy. The focus of the third package is clearly on creating employment opportunities in an economy recovering from the pandemic. With Bureau Inputs, DT India.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi also endorsed the Atmanirbhar Bharat package unveiled by the Finance Minister. He tweeted, and I quote, "Today's Atmanirbhar Bharat package continues our efforts to help all sections of society. These initiatives will help in creating jobs, alleviate stress sectors, ensure liquidity, boost manufacturing, energize real estate sector, and support farmers." So let's take a look at the impact of the Atmanirbhar Bharat package so far. We know that there is a strong recovery in the economy, and in fact, how is that? How do we figure that out? Because there's the strongest increase in the Purchasers Managers Index in 9 years. It's now at 59 point something, so it's gone up pretty significantly. Also, the energy consumption growth trends has been higher, so that's showing greater consumption capacity in the economy. The GST collections for October have crossed 1 lakh crore rupees. That's a sign that the economy has definitely picked up. The markets, the stock markets are at record highs, and that's also led to record market capitalization. Also, the FDI inflows April to August are at 35.37 billion US dollars. So that's pretty much showing that the economy is well on track. Let's take a look at Atmanirbhar Abhiyan 1. So what has happened as a result of that is that we've had this One Nation, One Ration Card scheme, and now it's covered 68.6 crore beneficiaries. There's also intrastate portability, and that's enabled the 28 states, union territories to all be connected. One single card, one single market in a sense. About 1.5 crore monthly transactions too have taken place. And let's move on now to the Prime Minister's Street Vendors Scheme. That's the Atmanirbhar, the Prime Minister's Swanidhi scheme. Also 13.78 lakh loans, which have totaled 1,373.33 crore rupees have been sanctioned. That's a significant amount to boost this sector of the street vendors, which are all self-employed people. Self-employment itself helps you to take the economy forward, because that's a huge amount of employment for a vast number of people. Now, Kisan credit card, we are moving into the rural areas. The Kisan credit card for 157.44 lakh eligible farmers, in fact. So many farmers, 157.44 lakh eligible farmers. What is the amount that has been sanctioned so far in 2 phases? Is 1,43,262 crore rupees has been sanctioned through the Kisan credit cards for 2 phases so far. Now, what about the Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme? This is targeting the MSME sector. We see that 2.05 lakh crore rupees have been sanctioned to 61 lakh borrowers. This is a guarantee given by the government for the loans that have been dispersed. 1.52 lakh crore rupees have been dispersed to the MSME sector, definitely giving them a leg up. Then we had the Atmanirbhar Bharat 2.0. This was announced in October. The festival advance was launched. The SBI Utsav cards are being distributed. The LTC voucher scheme was launched. 25,000 crore rupees as additional capital expenditure. Also, the Ministry of Road Transport and the Ministry of Defence get that money, that 25,000 crore rupees additional expenditure. 11 states were sanctioned so far, 3,621 crore rupees as an interest-free loan. All that under Atmanirbhar Bharat 2, which is ongoing, still not over. But we have Atmanirbhar Bharat 3.0, and this is now targeting job creation, incentivizing new employment. We see that establishments which are registered with the EPFO or are registering with the EPFO, it applies to them. They'll get a subsidy for all the new employees. The central government will provide this subsidy for 2 years. Up to 1,000 employees, you get a 24% payback on the wages. And also more than 1,000 employees, you get only 12% of that, which is actually the employees' contribution, which is 12%. The 24% includes the employer's contribution. So the subsidy is also credited upfront into the Aadhaar seeded accounts. And there's also a rupees 3 lakh crore emergency credit line guarantee. This is again moving the MSME sector. It's extended, in fact, that same scheme that we talked about from Atmanirbhar Bharat 1. It's extended now to 31st of March 2021. Additional credit of up to 20% of outstanding as on the 29th of February 2020. So all that is increased. Also the relief to the stressed sectors. There's the launch of this Credit Guarantee Scheme 2.0, which is for the stressed sectors, and this would be to the tune of 1.46 lakh crore rupees. Atmanirbhar manufacturing production linked incentives. There are 10 champion sectors also. These are the productivity linked incentive schemes. For 3 sectors, they have been approved. That's 51,355 crore rupees for one of the sectors, for all the sectors, in fact, for the 3 sectors. And these are the 3 sectors. Mobile manufacturing is one of them. Mobile manufacturing is at 40,995 crore rupees. Then there's the key starting materials, that's called KSM. There's also the drug intermediaries and the active pharmaceutical ingredients, the API sector. This is at 6,940 crore rupees being earmarked for that. Medical devices at 3,420 crore rupees. There are some other champion sectors, and they are being talked about. The advanced cell chemistry, which is the amount was being thought about, is about 18,100 crore rupees. Electronic technology products, 5,000 crore rupees. Automobiles and auto components, 57,042 crore rupees. Pharmaceuticals, drugs, 15,000 crore rupees. Telecom and networking products, 12,195 crore rupees. Textile products, 10,683 crore rupees. So food products, 10,900 crore rupees. High efficiency solar PV modules at 4,500, and white good ACs and LEDs, 6,238 crore rupees, and also specialty steel at 6,322 crore rupees. So we can see it's been a well thought out plan. That was what Atmanirbhar Bharat 3 is all about. We're going to discuss this with our guests soon after this short break. Stay with us.
भारतवर्ष के पारंपरिक भोजन संस्कृति से जुड़े अनमोल ज्ञान से करा रही हैं देशवासियों को रूबरू।
ये माँ दादी से आपके माँ तक, आपके माँ से आप तक, आप से आपके बच्चों तक, ये ओरल विजडम की जो परंपरा है, इसमें मैक्सिमम कंट्रीब्यूशन विमेन और फार्मर्स का रहा है।
फिटनेस के सरल नियमों के प्रति कर रही हैं जागरूक।
आई थिंक वेट गेन प्रेगनेंसी के बाद में तभी मुद्दा बनता है जब हमने पहले से ही खुद के फिटनेस के ऊपर ध्यान नहीं दिया होता।
जानिए देश की जानी मानी डाइटिशियन और न्यूट्रिशनिस्ट रुजुता दिवेकर की कहानी, उन्हीं की जुबानी। कार्यक्रम तेजस्विनी में।
Welcome back, and now let's bring in Focus tonight, and this is In Focus. Atmanirbhar Abhiyan, effective targeted stimulus, and let's go across, and we are privileged to have with us the Chief Economic Advisor to the Ministry of Finance, Government of India, Dr. Krishnamurthy Subramanian. Dr. Subramanian, thanks for being with us. So this is the third phase, and it's looking like a huge sum of money cumulatively, 30 lakh crore rupees. But you know, I mean, we're beginning to see the stimulus taking effect, and the economy is definitely picking up. So what do you see now? What do you foresee? Are we going to see huge employment taking place because of the other spillover effects of the economy taking up, because growth will create employment? Give us, you know, the future picture. What's it looking like, the road ahead?
So as you were rightly saying, the economy is clearly recovering very well. The V-shaped recovery is certainly manifesting with different pace for manufacturing and for services. The manufacturing sector has picked up significantly well. Even the services sector also, with the PMI now coming in at about 53, is also in an expansionary phase, yes, despite a couple of those sectors being still affected by the social distancing. So the attempt here is to try and accelerate this process of recovery by especially focusing on jobs, because jobs have the ability to reduce significant, to reduce uncertainty and thereby foster demand. Because in a time like this, when faced with a pandemic, people typically, because of the uncertainty, may be deciding to save if they are not very certain about their future income. And what employment does is to actually provide that certainty and thereby boost demand. One of the things that economics clearly points out is that finally demand is what is really critical for yes, all the other aspects to come back, and therefore this is an effort to try and really push demand significantly and accelerate the process of recovery.
So would you see that, there's been, obviously when something is locked up, there is a lot of pent-up demand, and that would first look like, that there's a spurt of growth because that pent-up demand is being catered to in a sense. But after that, it should stabilize to some extent. But one needs to keep that that sort of consumption capacity going. Would you see these incentives that you've created for employment, to what extent can that actually can that keep consumption going in the economy?
As I was saying, employment has the ability to create a sustained impact on consumption, because okay, it provides certainty of income. And that's what people look for when deciding to indulge, especially in discretionary consumption, which is something that we need to push further. And therefore, in the push towards employment, even the emphasis on housing, for instance, through the emphasis on the PM Awas Yojana, as well as the income tax rebate for houses that are less than 2 crore. These also will have impact, because housing is one sector where activity increases lead to spillover effects, positive spillover effects on various other sectors, and thereby, demand can be boosted. So these will really help in, accelerating the process of recovery. One point that I would want to mention that, if you look at the manufacturing sector, which has clearly recovered significantly, for instance, the PMI for the month of October is at a 9-year high.
Yes.
That can't just be because of the pent-up demand. It's actually also capturing the buoyancy because of the reforms that have been launched. India is the only country that has actually, focused on significant reform measures to help the growth path of the economy. So this is reflecting some of the buoyancy from these reform measures.
Dr. Subramanian, with regard to the MSME sector, so the government is standing guarantee to a number of loans that have been put out. To what extent is the risk, how would you assess the risk in this sector currently? Because the MSMEs have definitely taken a beating because of, their capacities were small, so they were probably hit by COVID. But they also have the capacity to recover pretty fast because their scales are small. So, how would you understand and assess the risk?
So, if you see the emergency credit guarantee scheme that was announced as part of the Atmanirbhar Stimulus 1, the take-up of that has been quite good because of the guarantee that is there, with the credit. And as you rightly pointed out, MSMEs actually are, where hit significantly, and this credit scheme provided them the necessary capital to be able to actually tide over their difficulties. Looking at the encouraging take-up of that particular scheme, therefore, what we've tried to do is to top up on that significantly, so that MSMEs can benefit even more. Together with the focus on the 26 stress sectors, I think the emphasis therefore is on sectors where the stress has been greater. So these will really help in MSMEs being able to tide over their difficulties, together with some of the forbearance that has also been provided, so that once the economy is back to full steam, that's when the MSMEs can focus on repaying their obligations.
But Dr. Subramanian, are we now looking at a new kind of economy post-COVID, and are you directing the economy in that direction with, production-linked incentives for champion sectors, seeing that certain sectors we do have some core capacities and they need to be incentivized? What are these sectors? You have mobile manufacturing, you have key starting materials, drug active pharmaceutical ingredients and the like.
Yes, absolutely. There are two key points that I would like to highlight here in terms of the post-COVID structure of the Indian economy that I expect. First, the significant reforms that have been launched in the farm sector as well as in the manufacturing sector will really enable the value added to be significant in both these sectors, your primary and secondary sectors. And these are sectors that significantly contribute to employment, and therefore the increased vitality in the primary and the secondary sectors, which is agriculture and manufacturing, can really help job creation in the organized sector, and thereby also create employment opportunities, and thereby push demand significantly. So that's the first aspect in which the post-COVID Indian economy may be very different from the pre-COVID one. Secondly, in the export-linked incentives, those have been again showing very encouraging signs, because these are incentives that are linked to the growth of exports, and thereby provide the exporters the incentive to continue growing their exports in order to avail this scheme. And that has shown very encouraging pickup. So going forward, what we can also anticipate is significant growth in exports. And one of the things that stands out is that the countries that have grown very well have generally grown on the backing of exports. These two key areas, actually, primary and secondary sectors, together with exports, I think have the potential to really transform the Indian economy and present growth rates of 6-7% consistently.
A final word, we've talked about, we've had high inflows of FDI. Our markets are at booming, stock markets, there's huge market capitalization. So is this a time then when, when we can actually invest heavily in infrastructure, in those sectors which can hold the economy for the long term?
Absolutely. Infrastructure is something that I, highly recommend. It's a sector where the multiplier, fiscal multiplier, so to say, which is if you invest 1 rupee, what is the return you get? In infrastructure, in the year you invest, that multiplier is about 2.5 rupees. And overall, over the entire duration, it's about 4.5. So this is a sector which creates significant, positive externalities in other sectors. So infrastructure is a very, very, important sector to focus on. If we look at the, one of the episodes when India faced a slowdown following the Asian financial crisis and the nuclear test, 2000 to 2000.
Oops, we seem to have lost connection with Dr. Krishnamurthy Subramanian, but thanks very much, sir, for being with us. You've already highlighted quite a lot about what are the key points of Atmanirbhar Bharat 3. And we are also privileged to have with us, in fact, we have Shubham Bhattacharjee, senior economic journalist. Thanks very much, Mr. Bhattacharjee. But so let's take on from what the chief economic advisor has been saying. So the signals, the indices are showing that the economy is doing well. Is this a time, that we can capitalize on to try and look at some key investments in sectors that have been that are considered core for the future?
Certainly, I mean, Mark, that is actually the reason why we have. Why I would say that along with the measures, the important thing about this stimulus is the timing.
Yes.
Of course, ahead of festival, obviously it gives a good feeling. But more than that, the fact is that by now the government, after the first Atmanirbhar package, which was in May, and then the government did several other steps in between. But this one is a much larger package in terms of, being organized across larger number of sectors. And it has been built after the government has had a chance to look at how the economy has performed. So the data that you're talking about, all those data have come in. There's an uptick. There's also where there's need for development is clear. For instance, today the IIP figure, which has come out for September, shows that finally it has turned positive in September. Now, all of these basically show that the economy is started to revive. In that position, the government is now looking at what are the steps that it needs to do, what are the pressure points which are still there, which need to be sorted. And as Dr. Subramanian was saying, the basic thrust of this particular one is about jobs. That is where the big challenge has always been, and that's what this one is looking at.
But the jobs also, I think the government is trying through this particular package to formalize the job sector, because a lot of employment takes place in the informal sector. A lot of employment is self-employed, and one doesn't really quite count that as employment. Even the Swanidhi scheme, in fact, is a form of employment in a sense for self-employment, for street vendors. But these incentives that have given for EPFO, to what extent do you think that this is going to raise employment in the formal sector?
Well, certainly, but before coming to EPFO, the Swanidhi thing is interesting. I mean, there have been about 26, almost like 27 lakh applications have been received, and about 1,400 crore has roughly been disbursed.
That's
and
right.
you can see that most of these is coming along from the densely populated states like Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra. These are the states which one would have expected that there would be the larger applications, and that's come along. Of course, states like West Bengal and Odisha, it's a bit disappointing, the numbers, but I suppose they will pick up later. Coming to the the incentive that has been created to make new employees statutory contributions, which is the Provident Fund and the pension contributions, come from the government for any company which takes them on from October. That is definitely a nudge, a strong nudge to make companies, take on that additionality, because it means basically what it means that your wage bill doesn't rise as much as you can. as much as it would have.
Okay.
In fact, there's a benefit of almost 24%, which comes along both from the employee's salary as well as from the company's salary.
Yes.
And that will be taken care of by the government. One would expect that given the number of people who lost their jobs in this year, it will benefit about something about 15 to 20 lakh employees. So people. So that's a substantial number, which you can definitely get that sort of benefit. We are talking about 1.5 to 2 million people.
Right.
These are big numbers that can come back to the job market. And once they do, as again the CEO was saying, it creates stability.
Okay.
That essentially, instead of a cash support, people get the feeling that next month's
True.
check is there. So that makes people comfortable to be able to make long-term decisions and gives much more organized shape to the economy.
Absolutely. But, much of the largest employment creator would be the MSME sector. And there have been huge incentives given to the MSMEs to keep them going and to get them to make profits and to move forward. And they have actually sort of delivered on the supply chain. We see that, what so far 2 lakh crore rupees has been dispersed to the MSME sector under the credit guarantee, and that's more is in store. So, and the government standing guarantee for these loans. So that's a significant boost, isn't it? And that will create huge employment as well.
Yeah, MSME, especially the ECLJ scheme. That the particular thing about this particular scheme is while there has been a discussion that whether the government should have raised it from the existing 3 lakh crore to more,
Yes.
the point is that the MSME sector also takes time to absorb the loans.
Right.
You can't just go around and just give the money. The companies, the units there, right, from one person unit to something like 15 or 20. These are units which take time to be able to turn around, to be able to get the money and to be able to start working. And a big part of their working would depend on what is happening with the larger companies to whom they supply. So
That's right.
that is important, that such entities are able to soak in that amount of benefit and support that's coming. And there's an SBI report which saying they expect about 40,000 entities which will be able to benefit from the scheme. And
Right.
I'm sure, given the strong nature of this particular support,
Yes.
the government should be able to expand the corpus from 3 lakh crore to more, if necessary, because that's after all a demand booster, and it helps
Right.
to
Fair enough.
create the benefit. Yeah.
So a final word, we've seen that there have been 3 incentives now, or 3 stimulus packages, and the third one comes when the economy is actually beginning to look good. In terms of let's say the indicators like the market and all that. So are we actually going to see, in terms of the economy, in terms of the stock markets, are we likely to see them go further up?
Well, what will happen is that the stock market has been, at least for this one, they're particularly looking at what could have been given for the middle class.
Right.
And that is something that the real estate sector, SOPs, is obviously something which the middle class would be looking at, the concession for houses of up to 2 crore rupees. But more than that, it is the more weaker sectors which have been helped out in these stimulus packages. And that is as it should be.
Okay.
So
Yes.
I think the stock market would largely be responding to the fact that the results of companies
Yes.
are looking good. And remember, on a longer term platform, the part that I like most is the plan to support the equity in the
Yes.
National Infrastructure Investment Platform Fund.
Okay.
That is where the infrastructure building, which is actually going to be a very solid performance builder for the Indian
Right.
economy.
We leave it there. Thank you very much, Shubham Bhattacharjee, for joining us and throwing light on the Atmanirbhar Bharat 3 package and putting it into context with the other packages as well. Moving on then to our next story, the Vietnamese Prime Minister Nguyen Xuan Phuc hosted a virtual meeting. This was between the Southeast Asian leaders and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This was the 17th ASEAN-India Summit happened on Thursday virtually. At the beginning of the meeting, the Prime Minister praised the historical partnership between India and the ASEAN nations, and he stressed on the importance of cooperation between the countries in the region in the fight against COVID-19, also the negative impact that COVID has had on the world economy.
The 17th India-ASEAN Summit virtually. Prime Minister stressed on the historical ties that India shares with the ASEAN nations. He said that the strategic partnership between two sides is based on the shared legacy in many areas that connect them. Prime Minister also underlined the importance that India gives to ASEAN and the fact that it is the pillar of India's Act East policy.
भारत और आसियान की स्ट्रैटेजिक पार्टनरशिप हमारी साझा ऐतिहासिक, भौगोलिक और सांस्कृतिक धरोहर पर आधारित है। आसियान समूह शुरू से हमारी एक्ट ईस्ट पॉलिसी का मूल केंद्र रहा है। भारत के इंडो पैसिफिक ओशंस इनिशिएटिव और आसियान के आउटलुक ऑन इंडो पैसिफिक के बीच कई समानताएं हैं।
Striking right notes, Prime Minister highlighted the need for ensuring security and growth for all in the region.
हम मानते हैं कि सिक्योरिटी एंड ग्रोथ फॉर ऑल इन द रीजन के लिए एक कोहेसिव एंड रिस्पॉन्सिव आसियान आवश्यक है।
Connectivity between India and ASEAN remains one of the key aspects of the relationships, and the issue found proper mention in the Prime Minister's speech.
भारत और आसियान के बीच हर प्रकार की कनेक्टिविटी को बढ़ाना, फिजिकल, आर्थिक, सामाजिक, डिजिटल, फाइनेंशियल, मैरीटाइम हमारे लिए एक प्रमुख प्राथमिकता है। पिछले कुछ सालों में हम इन सभी क्षेत्रों में करीब आते गए हैं।
The 17th India-ASEAN Summit is being held virtually due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi today said that the target for Atmanirbhar Bharat is not limited to physical or material self-reliance. The Prime Minister said it's dynamic and it covers a wide range. Prime Minister said that the nation becomes self-reliant only when a nation becomes self-reliant in thinking and practices and resources. Prime Minister was speaking after unveiling the life-size statue of Swami Vivekananda at the campus of Jawaharlal Nehru University in New Delhi via video link.
देश आत्मनिर्भर भारत के लक्ष्य और संकल्प के साथ आगे बढ़ रहा है। आज आत्मनिर्भर भारत का विचार 130 करोड़ से अधिक भारतीयों के कलेक्टिव कॉन्शियसनेस का, हमारी एस्पिरेशंस का हिस्सा बन चुका है। जब हम आत्मनिर्भर भारत की बात करते हैं तो लक्ष्य सिर्फ फिजिकल या मटेरियल सेल्फ रिलायंस तक ही सीमित नहीं है। आत्मनिर्भरता का अर्थ भी व्यापक है, दायरा भी व्यापक है, उसमें गहराई भी है, उसमें ऊंचाई भी है।
The Prime Minister said that it's a matter of immense pride that Swami Vivekananda statue is being unveiled in JNU, and he hoped that it will inspire people to realize Swamiji's dream of a strong and prosperous India. He wished for the statue to inspire everyone, to give them courage, the courage which Swami Vivekananda wanted to see in every person. He said this statue should teach compassion, which is the mainstay of Swamiji's philosophy.
ये प्रतिमा हमें राष्ट्र के प्रति अगाध समर्पण सिखाएं, प्रेम सिखाएं, इंटेंस लव फॉर आवर कंट्री जो स्वामी जी के जीवन का सर्वोच्च संदेश है। ये प्रतिमा देश को विजन ऑफ वननेस के लिए प्रेरित करे, जो स्वामी जी के चिंतन की प्रेरणा रहा है। ये प्रतिमा देश को यूथ लेड डेवलपमेंट के विजन के साथ आगे बढ़ने के लिए प्रेरित करे, जो स्वामी जी की अपेक्षा रही है। ये प्रतिमा हमें स्वामी जी के सशक्त समृद्ध भारत के सपने को साकार करने की प्रेरणा देती रहे।
Prime Minister said that the youth of the country are the brand ambassadors of India worldwide. And he said that India's youth, they represent the culture and the tradition of the country. He said that he expects the youth to create a new identity for India in the 21st century.
देश का युवा ही दुनिया भर में ब्रांड इंडिया का ब्रांड एम्बेसडर्स है। हमारे युवा भारत के कल्चर और ट्रेडिशन का प्रतिनिधित्व करते हैं। इसलिए आपसे अपेक्षा सिर्फ भारत की पुरातन पहचान पर गर्व करने भर की ही नहीं है, बल्कि 21वीं सदी में भारत की नई पहचान गढ़ने की भी है।
And the Prime Minister also said that the poor were relegated to just slogans for a long time, and the reality was that there was no effort to link the poor with the system, and those who were most neglected and unconnected and financially excluded were the poor. And he said that now the poor are getting houses of their own, gas, toilets, electricity, clean drinking water, digital banking, cheap mobile connectivity, and also the facility of fast internet connections like every other citizen.
किसानों के साथ साथ गरीबों के हित में किए गए रिफॉर्म्स के मामले में यही रास्ता अपनाया जा रहा है। हमारे यहां लंबे समय तक गरीब को सिर्फ नारों में ही रखा गया, लेकिन सच्चाई ये थी कि देश के गरीब को कभी सिस्टम से जोड़ने की चेष्टा ही नहीं हुई। जो सबसे ज्यादा निग्लेक्टेड था वो गरीब था, जो सबसे ज्यादा अनकनेक्टेड था वो गरीब था, जो सबसे ज्यादा फाइनेंशियली एक्सक्लूडेड था वो गरीब था। अब गरीबों को अपना पक्का घर, टॉयलेट, बिजली, गैस, साफ पीने का पानी, डिजिटल बैंकिंग, सस्ती मोबाइल कनेक्टिविटी और तेज इंटरनेट कनेक्शन की सुविधा जैसे अन्य नागरिकों को मिल रही है, गरीबों तक भी पहुंच रही है।
The Prime Minister said that what has hurt India's interests the most is people taking sides on matters of national interest based on their ideological positions.
किसी एक बात जिसने हमारे देश की लोकतांत्रिक व्यवस्था को बहुत बड़ा नुकसान पहुंचाया है, वो है राष्ट्रहित से ज्यादा प्राथमिकता अपनी विचारधारा को देना। क्योंकि मेरी विचारधारा ये कहती है, इसलिए देश हित के मामलों में भी मैं इसी सांचे में सोचूंगा, इसी दायरे में काम करूंगा। ये रास्ता सही नहीं है दोस्तों, ये गलत है।
And students of Jawaharlal Nehru University expressed their happiness over the unveiling of Swami Vivekananda statue by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Let's listen to them.
देखिए, उन्होंने जिस तरह से मतलब युवाओं की मन को बात को टटोलते हुए बोले कि विचारधाराएं बहुत सारी हो सकती हैं, आपका विचार अलग हो सकता है, सामने वाले का विचार अलग हो सकता है, लेकिन हमारा जो लक्ष्य होता है, हमारा जो ध्येय होता है, राष्ट्रहित और देशी हित होता है। तो विचारधारा पे कभी अडिग नहीं होना चाहिए, कभी रिजिड नहीं होना चाहिए। हमको विचारधारा को लेकर एक माध्यम बनाना चाहिए, लेकिन देश हित और राष्ट्र हित सर्वोपरि होना चाहिए। और जिस तरह से प्रधानमंत्री ने जेएनयू के कोने कोने की बात की, यहाँ के हॉस्टल्स के नाम लेकर बताया और ढाबों के लेकर नाम लेकर, मतलब लगता है कि प्रधानमंत्री कितना विश्वविद्यालय के छात्रों के प्रति सजग है।
हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी ने विवेकानंद जी की मूर्ति का अनावरण किया। विवेकानंद जी की ये एक मूर्ति नहीं है, ये एक युवा की आवाज़ है और हमेशा ही विवेकानंद जी को युवा के लिए जाना जाता है। और पूरे विश्व के युवा, ये हम भारत के युवाओं को नहीं, पूरे विश्व के युवाओं को एक प्रेरित करने वाली विचारधारा है। तो मैं आज के दिन को बहुत सराहनीय और बहुत खुशी का प्रश्न वाला मानती हूँ।
मोदी जी का एक बात मुझे सबसे अच्छी लगे कि जवाहरलाल नेहरू यूनिवर्सिटी में कि सामाजिक विषयों को लेकर जहाँ जो परिचर्चा होती है, इस चर्चा के माध्यम से हमारे भारत में जो सामाजिक समस्याएं हैं उन समस्याओं को हम लोग यहाँ बैठ कर दूर कर सकते हैं। तो इसलिए इस विचार दृष्टि से हम जेएनयू परिवार और साथ में पूरा जेएनयू हम लोग हर्षोल्लास के साथ आज विवेकानंद मूर्ति की स्थापना को हम लोग मना रहे हैं।
Well, the Jal Shakti Ministry has conferred the Best TV Show Award to Doordarshan News' Jal Shakti Samachar, and the ministry organized the second Water Awards, and they felicitated various states and organizations for their commendable efforts in raising awareness for conservation of water. And during the event, the Union Minister for Jal Shakti, Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, he warned of the alarming situation of potential water scarcity across the world and highlighted the need for collective efforts towards water conservation.
The second day of the award distribution ceremony of National Water Awards 2019 saw many awards being conferred in different categories. The aim of the National Water Awards is to acknowledge individuals, organizations doing commendable work in the field of water conservation and management. Also, it strives to create awareness among the people about the importance of water and motivate them to adopt the best water usage practices. 5 Gram Panchayats from 5 different parts of the nation grabbed the honours from their respective regions. DD News also won a National Water Award for Best TV Show Jal Shakti Samachar.
Jal Shakti Samachar, DD News, New Delhi.
Union Minister for Jal Shakti, Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, praised the efforts by DD News in bringing to the fore the fight to preserve water.
मैं धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूँ जितने मीडिया हाउसेस, जल शक्ति समाचार से लेकर के जितने प्रिंट मीडिया के लोगों को इस दिशा में आज सम्मानित किया गया है, और जो इन्हें सम्मानित शायद हम नहीं कर पाए होंगे, उन सारे लोगों का मैं अभिनंदन करना चाहता हूँ।
Expressing gratitude, DD News Director General Mayank Agarwal said that DD News will continue to bring forward the efforts made for conservation of water from all across the nation to the viewers.
मुझे और समस्त दूरदर्शन समाचार परिवार को इस बात से बहुत प्रसन्नता है कि जल शक्ति मंत्रालय ने हमको जल शक्ति समाचार के लिए सम्मानित किया है। जल शक्ति समाचार में देश के कोने कोने में जल संरक्षण और स्वच्छता के क्षेत्र में किए जा रहे अनूठे प्रयासों को संकलित किया जाता है और जन जन तक पहुंचाया जाता है। जल शक्ति मंत्रालय से हमें इस विषय में लगातार सहयोग मिलता रहता है। हमारी टीम बहुत उत्साहित है और आगे भी हम इस कार्य को इसी उत्साह के साथ जारी रखेंगे।
The National Water Awards not only focus on the good work and efforts made by individual and organizations across the country, it is a right step in the direction of government's vision of a Jal Samriddh Bharat. The National Water Awards 2019 was launched in September 2019 on MyGov portal, and entries were also invited by Central Groundwater Board. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
And India's battle against COVID-19 pandemic continues to give good results, and for the 5th day running, the number of new cases reported has been under 50,000 a day, and the total caseload has remained under the 5 lakh mark. Also, the recovery rate has climbed further. Let's take a look at this report.
India's battle against COVID-19 is continuing, and due to continuous efforts by the government, India seems to be in a much better situation. For the 5th successive day, new cases reported in the last 24 hours did not cross 50,000 mark, while patients are speedily recovering. The trend of daily new recoveries outnumbering daily new cases continues for the 40th day, with 52,718 new recoveries registered in the last 24 hours. This trend has continued to compress the active caseload of India, which is presently 4.98 lakh. With a contribution of only 5.63% of India's total positive cases, India's active caseload stands at 4,89,294, well below the 5 lakh mark. The recovery rate has also been boosted with the trend of recoveries exceeding new cases. It presently stands at 92.89%. The gap between recovered cases and active cases has steadily widened to 75,77,207. Delhi saw another spike and reported the highest daily new cases, also its highest tally so far with 8,593 new cases. Delhi is followed by Kerala with 7,007 cases and Maharashtra with 4,907 cases. Meanwhile, in view of rising corona cases in the national capital, the Delhi government has decided to stop the holding of community Chhath Puja on the ghats.
दिल्ली सरकार ने फैसला किया है कि इस बारी जो छठ पूजा, क्योंकि छठ पूजा पानी के अंदर होती है, तो उसको घाटों पे करने के लिए मना किया गया है। होता क्या है कि एक ही मान लो वाटर बॉडी है, तालाब है, उसके अंदर 100 लोगों ने मान लो पूजा के लिए उतरे उसके अंदर, और 100 में से अगर 2 लोग भी या 4 लोग भी इन्फेक्टेड थे तो बाकी 100 को भी होने के चांसेस 100% ही है। तो इसलिए कम्युनिटी गैदरिंग में उसको बैन किया गया, घरों में इस बार लोग करेंगे।
In the midst of the corona pandemic, all eyes are on vaccine. Meanwhile, good news is that Serum Institute of India and Indian Council of Medical Research have announced the completion of enrollment for Phase 3 clinical trials for its Covishield vaccine. ICMR is providing help to Serum Institute of India at 15 centers across the country for clinical trials of Covishield. This vaccine, named Covishield, is being provided by Serum Institute of India. The trial is being conducted under monitoring by the Indian Council of Medical Research. This vaccine, formulated at SII Covovax, will be tested in a Phase 3 trial in India, and an application for the same to regulatory authorities will be made soon by ICMR and SII. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
The Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar has said that the people of the state have given a mandate to the NDA and it will form the government in the state. The Chief Minister was speaking to the media in Patna on Thursday.
तो बिहार की जनता का निर्णय है, लोगों ने जो उनके हाथ में ताकत थी, जनता मालिक है और जनता का निर्णय हो गया, पुनः एनडीए को बहुमत प्राप्त हुआ है और एनडीए की सरकार बनेगी।
The Union Home Minister Amit Shah has said that all villages across the border will be provided all basic amenities to check migration, and inaugurating Sharad Vikas Utsav, and this is at Dhordo in Kutch district of Gujarat. The minister said that the borders will be safer when people living there have all the basic facilities for good quality of life.
देश की पूरी भू सीमा जहां पर लगी है, सब जगह पर इसे ऐसे सीमांत विकासोत्सव करने का देश के प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी का निर्णय है और आगे पर प्रधानमंत्री जी स्वयं जाने वाले हैं। इस विकास उत्सव का उद्देश्य है।
That was Sarhad Vikas Utsav 2020 at Dhordo in Kutch district. Moving on then to our next story, then the Ministry of Electronics and IT, they have issued a notice, or they've done so to Twitter on the 9th of November on the issue of depicting Leh as part of the Jammu and Kashmir instead of the Union Territory of Ladakh. The ministry, in a notice sent to the Global Vice President of Twitter, has mentioned that showing Leh as part of Jammu and Kashmir is a deliberate attempt by Twitter to undermine the will of the Sovereign Parliament of India, which had declared Ladakh as a Union Territory of India with its headquarters at Leh. The ministry, in its notice, had directed Twitter to explain within 5 working days as to why legal action should not be initiated against Twitter and its representatives for disrespecting the territorial integrity of India by showing an incorrect map. It is pertinent to mention here that earlier Twitter had shown Leh as part of the People's Republic of China, after which the Secretary in the Ministry of Electronics and IT had written a letter to the CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, raising an objection to that and in response to that, Twitter had removed the anomaly. Also, Twitter has not yet corrected the map to show Leh as part of the Union Territory of Ladakh. It's still showing Leh as part of Jammu and Kashmir, which is against the official position of the Government of India. The Ministry of Ayush has been observing Ayurveda Day every year on the occasion of Dhanteras, which falls on the 13th of November this year, and the Prime Minister will dedicate 2 future-ready Ayurveda institutions to the nation on the occasion: the Institute of Teaching and Research in Ayurveda, Jamnagar, and the National Institute of Ayurveda in Jaipur.
Since 2016, Ministry of Ayush has been observing Ayurveda Day every year on the occasion of Dhanvantri Jayanti. The aim of Ayurveda Day is to focus on the powers of Ayurveda and its unique healing principles. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will dedicate 2 future-ready Ayurveda institutions to the nation at the 5th Ayurveda Day on Friday via video conference. Institute of Teaching and Research in Ayurveda, Jamnagar, and the National Institute of Ayurveda, Jaipur. Institute of Teaching and Research in Ayurveda, Jamnagar, has been conferred the status of an institution of national importance by an Act of the Parliament, and National Institute of Ayurveda, Jaipur, is an institution deemed to be the university by University Grants Commission. Institute of Teaching and Research in Ayurveda is created through an Act of Parliament. ITRA is poised to emerge as a world-class healthcare institution. ITRA has 12 departments, 3 clinical laboratories and 3 research laboratories. It is also a leader in research work in traditional medicine, and presently it is conducting 33 research projects. ITRA has been formed by conglomerating the cluster of 4 Ayurveda institutes at Gujarat Ayurveda University campus, Jamnagar. It is the first institute in Ayush sector having the institution of national importance status. National Institute of Ayurveda is an Ayurveda institution with countrywide repute. NIA got a shot in the arm with deemed to be university status by UGC. Inheritor of a 175-year legacy, NIA's contribution to preserving, promoting and advancing authentic Ayurveda in the last few decades has been significant. Presently, NIA possesses 14 different departments. The institute has very good student-teacher ratio with a total intake of 955 students and 75 faculties during 2019-20. It runs numerous courses in Ayurveda ranging from certificate to doctoral level. Ayurveda emphasizes good health and prevention and treatment of illness through lifestyle practices. Ayurvedic medicine is a healthy lifestyle system that people in India have used for more than 5,000 years. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
And that's all we have in Newsnight for tonight. But to protect yourself and others from COVID, it's a simple task. Just wear a mask. Namaskar.